Welcome, a really warm welcome. It's Michael Beale, NLP trainer, NLP coach trainer, stakeholder centered coach. Success systems. Something I think is really useful that we develop our own idea of what are the elements, if we combine them together, will help us be more successful and fulfilled. And I think it's a lifelong journey exploring these things, but I think it's really useful to have a simple model or approach in our minds so we can review it as we progress on. And the test of a successful system is very simple. We're happy and we're beginning to get, or we are getting, the results that we expect. And if we're not getting those things, that's okay. That's just a sign that we haven't yet developed the right system and approach for us. So I've developed my own 8-element system, but the purpose of me sharing it with you is not to say that you have to take this one on board, but it gives you an idea of the things that you might choose to work on and you might choose to put some effort. So the first thing is having a direction and purpose. A bit like the sat nav in a car, if we don't key anything in, we're not really telling the sat nav where to go. Now, when I first started, I used to make these a little bit complicated, but in essence, for those of you or those of us that really don't want to think too much about it, a default direction will always be something around financial freedom, health, good relationships, and contribution or giving back. There are very few people that can't use that as a starting point to come up with something that, if they develop, they put a little bit more flesh on it, would lead them somewhere that led them to their version of success and fulfillment. Second thing, health and well-being. Health and well-being and resilience. And again, it's very easy to forget these things, but if we want to do anything, if we've got reserves of energy and we've got the resilience to always pick ourselves up if we happen to temporarily fall down, it will be easier for us. So we don't want to forget those things that will lead us to become and be healthy and maybe more healthy. Mindset and worldview. This is an NLP site, and NLP is very much about worldview and mindset. And we have lots of approaches that will continually improve our view of the world and how we think things through, so we can be more effective and efficient. We can become more enjoyably effective and efficient. Strategy and plan. My view is we need a strategy and plan, but the idea is to have something that we believe and feel comfortable with and as simple as possible. However, my view of strategy and plan needs at least 3 things. It needs some milestones so we can measure if we're moving forward. It needs some focus areas, some areas that if we get better, if we develop our skills and capabilities in these areas, we will naturally float. And it needs some hotspots. What are the things we need to work on that if we work on will move us forward? So, number 5, how we an effective way of investing the energy, the time, and the focus we have on a daily basis. Now, this is non-trivial. In the older days, if we went to work for a company, it would almost be laid out for us. But if we're working for ourselves, or even now if we're working out for a company, we'll have to do a lot of this ourselves, but we do have a certain amount of time every day, a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of focus. These are limited. How do we choose what to invest them in? And taking responsibility for that, I've found in my experience, makes a huge difference. Number 6, activity. What we do. There is no, a plan that's just in our heads becomes meaningless. Where it becomes interesting is we test our activity in the world to see what happens. Now, in my experience, that's where the real learning takes place. And one of the interesting things is some people, and I don't recommend this, some people are so risk averse that they want everything to work first time. And my view is the way we learn, the way we explore things is by doing stuff and see what works. Because we're limited by to some extent, by our mental maps, the only way that we find out what works is by doing it. And sometimes the people that focuses on just activity, providing they learn from it, will have a much easier ride than some others. Number 7, feedback systems. If we keep rushing in a direction and we don't take in what's happening, we don't take the information we're getting back to the world so we can review our maps, review our activity, all the other stuff, we may crash and burn. But developing some feedback systems, and I normally suggest something around a check-in every day to see what we've done, to see whether we've used our time and energy reasonably, a check-in with some key metrics, a check-in every so often with key stakeholders to get feedback and feed forward as to how we're doing. These make a phenomenal difference. And the last bit of the system I'm going to say is some review process so we can congratulate ourselves of where we've moved forward. We can congratulate ourselves of where we've had a go at things, even though the results may not be yet what we want. But we take the time to change the rudder a bit so we do go in the right direction. To sort of end where I began, I think one of our challenges in life is to work out what works, so we can help us get what we want and help all those people around us do the same. And NLP and coaching is a great way to move forward on all these areas. Thank you for listening and watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.